Hello, iSpa family, and welcome to Heart of the Matter, a series which brings together luminaries from a variety of fields and backgrounds for in-depth conversations intended to spark thought, discussion, and inspiration in the spa industry and beyond. I'm Patrick Huey, your iSpa board chairman, and this will be a space where we can talk freely about big ideas and issues that matter to us not only as spa professionals, but also as human beings. Today, we are honored to spend time with photographer and author Jordan Matter, a gentleman whose work can only be described as breathtaking, expressive of joyous energy, and completely surprising and magical. Jordan Matter, a portrait and dance photographer, is also the author of two New York Times bestsellers, Dancers Among Us and Born to Dance. His work has created what can only be called a viral phenomenon, making him one of the most recognizable photographers on the planet. He has over 4 million subscribers on YouTube, 1.5 million on Instagram, and 2.5 million on TikTok. That is a lot of people, Jordan.
Actually, it's over 5 million now.
Jordan, come
on. That's an old bio.
You have had, I believe, 700 million views of your videos in the past 2 years. You've been on ABC World News, Nightline, Late Night with Seth Meyers. You've been featured in the Huffington Post, the Oprah Magazine, the Daily Mail UK. You've had exhibitions all over the world of your work. And the New York Times describes your work as dancers make all the world their stage. So I think you've accomplished quite a bit in your career as a photographer.
So far, yeah, we've been having fun.
So I want to welcome you to iSpa, Jordan.
Thank you.
And, you know, we put this series together to bring together people who can create some really interesting concepts for our industry. And so let me cut to this. I was watching an interview with a guy named Mike Firstman, who is the founder of a company called Pendry Hotels. And he talked about how what we do on the hospitality side is all about creating magic for people. And I love that concept because I've always said that spa should be a magical experience for the people coming to it. And then I thought about your work, which is completely magical in a beautiful and disruptive type of way. And you really reshape what our expectation of photography and dance is going to be about. You embrace different body types, different genres of dance and movement. You don't seem to value one over the other. You have different races, ethnicities, ages featured in your pictures. And then you move them from the studio into life, whether it's on a subway or in a cityscape or underwater. And the really amazing part is that on your YouTube series, we get to watch you capturing those images, and there's so much joy in the work that you're doing. So I wanted to talk to you today about your process and sort of how you came upon this concept of the work you do.
Sure. Well, good to see you, Patrick. Thanks for having me on. I started up as a portrait photographer for many years, starting right around 2000. Mm-hmm. And at some point, and that's a whole nother, just a brief overview about that. But I was an actor, as you know, and I was not really, I was doing all right at it on the surface, but I wasn't really satisfied creatively. I didn't feel like I had a burning passion for it. I wouldn't wake up in the morning and feel like, how can I act today? Or what monologue can I work on? I would just wait for a job, you know? So I biked to the top of a mountain, the Cadillac National Park. It's, Acadian National Park. It's Cadillac Mountain in Maine. And I was looking out over the horizon, and I tried to take a photo, and I didn't know how to take a good photo of that landscape. So on the way down, I thought, I'm going to take a photography course to learn how to take that photo. And I immediately thought, maybe I could do that as a career. That might be fun. And then I thought, there's no way. There's already millions of photographers. There's absolutely no way I would succeed at this. Why even bother? And that is that moment, I think, that we all experience where you have the germ of an idea, the seed, and then you have to make a decision about whether or not to pursue that. And you hear the voices of doubt in your head. And often we choose to listen to those voices of doubt, and then we never know what could have been. And in this case, fortunately, I didn't listen to that that voice. And instead I took the class. And as soon as I saw my first print come up in the developer, I had this hallelujah feeling. It was like this wash came over me, and I felt like it was what I was meant to do. And I just wake up every morning still grateful that I didn't listen to that voice of doubt in my head, because if so, I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't have I don't even know what I would be doing. I don't know. But instead I did that.
So how did you find the courage to make that leap? Because I think lots of times we get in our heads that we're going to have this kind of career. It's going to look like this. It's going to go this way. And then it takes a certain amount of courage to sort of say, I'm going to flip the script and go a different way. How did you sort of wrap your mind around that?
Well, I don't know if you realize if it's courage in the moment, unless you have to leave something to do it. For me, it wasn't that I was saying, I'm going to leave everything behind and go do this thing. It was that I'm going to add this to my life and see how I feel about it. But I think the apprehension was, I didn't want to start believing maybe there was a chance that I could be successful at it. And then if I'm not going to be successful, why even try? Okay, why even bother with this? Forget it, is the path I was going down. Yeah. But my favorite quote in the world is leap and the net will appear. And I thought of it in that moment, and I thought, I'm going to jump into this, and I believe that I will be caught. And I've also always believed, for some reason, that if you know what you want and you go after it passionately, the universe will conspire to give it to you. I've always felt that those words came to me when I was young. And this was the first time I really knew what I wanted. Once I saw that print, I knew it. I knew I wanted it. But now I was at the bottom. I was at the very lowest rung. I wasn't even a photography student. I took one class. I wasn't in a school. I would reach out to photographers. I'd say, can I come trail you and watch what you do? And they all said no, because they didn't want me to steal their secrets or whatever. So I had no idea where to start, but somehow it's just about the hours, man. It's just like you just put in the time. And it's easy to put in the time when you're passionate for something. When you're not, it's a struggle. I had a long period of time where I was passionate, and then I saw this exhibition by Henri Cartier-Bresson, who is a French photographer. Oh man, I went to that exhibition, I realized, oh, he's genius, and I'm just taking photos. And I just put my camera down. I quit. I said, I can't be that good, so I'm not gonna try. And I quit for about a year. And then my wife got accepted to vet school. She was moving to Canada for 4 years. I was going to be in New York. And I thought, when she comes back, I'm going to be a waiter, and I'm going to be a part-time regional theater actor. And she's going to be a doctor. And I just can't take that. What else am I passionate about? And I thought the only thing I had been passionate about was photography. So I picked the camera back up. But this time, rather than doing street photography, I started doing portraits of the actors in my restaurant. And then I realized I had a real knack for that, for creating something new. And I think the takeaway, that if I was going to just see one takeaway for you guys, it would be find your own path and make it unique to you. Don't just try to do what everyone else was doing. So you remember back in the day, everybody's headshots was black and white, the Hoberman look, studio, cut off the head, right? And it's like side lit, but it was all studio gray background. And I didn't know how to use a studio. So I said, I am the first natural light headshot portrait artist. Everything, natural light headshots, only because I didn't know how to use a studio. So I just turned it to my advantage. Nobody else was doing natural light headshots at the time. Suddenly, a few people showed the agent. The agent said, yeah, bang, bang. Before I knew it, before I even knew how to really take a photo, I was really busy. That built up until a year ago when I just walked away from it. I had been doing 2 to 3 headshots a day, every day, as long as I wanted, waiting list. That was just exceptional for years. And in the midst of that, I photographed this guy from Paul Taylor Dance Company, his portraits. But I did one dance photo of him, one. And I thought, oh, this is exciting. That night, I was hanging out with my 4-year-old son, and he was playing with this toy bus. And he had such a passion for his fantasy world that I realized as we get older, we lose the appreciation and the celebration of the small everyday moments in our lives. And I thought, what if I took dancers and recreated the everyday and made it beautiful? And that's how I started doing dance photography.
And, I encourage everyone who's watching to go to your Instagram page, which is your name, Jordan Matter,
Yeah.
and to see the level of photography that you create and the level of experience that you create. And almost these very, on a subway, or going to a Starbucks or going to a mall. And the level of, and I only can describe it as magic because that's how it feels to me when I'm looking at your pictures. And that element of how did you do that? How did you get a ballerina to stand on a wine bottle on point? Okay. With people looking at her and capture that. The amount of preparation and skill and trust that ballerina has to have for you and what you're doing and the result. And just the collaboration. I think what you've created is quite fantastic. And I love how you let that evolve in terms of portraits, studio, outdoors, natural, this random shot of a dancer that becomes this phenomenon. I mean, and the beauty of your work, Jordan, is that the reason you have so many followers on your social media is because it impacts people. They feel something, and that makes them want more. And I think in the spa industry, in the hospitality industry, that's what we're looking for, that hook that makes people want more of what we're offering to come back. And I think that the authenticity of what you do is pretty amazing. When did you realize that it was what it was, or what it has become?
Wow. There were a couple of moments. The first moment was when my phone ran out of batteries a long time ago. It ran out of a charge, and I asked some random person on the street if I could borrow their phone to call my wife, and the wallpaper on their phone was a photo I took. And that was like, wow, this is wild, right? Like, how did that happen? So that was my first moment of, oh, this is getting out there, because you put stuff out there on social media. And at that point, I didn't have a huge following, but a lot of people had seen my photos. They didn't even know who had taken them. They were just kind of circulating around, right? Mainly Facebook at the time. So you put stuff out there and you just don't know what's happening, right? You don't know what sort of impact that's going to have. So that's pretty exciting to just be able to put stuff out and then let it work for you and see who, you never know who you're being impacted. I mean, let me show you something. This is 3 weeks of letters I've gotten.
All right.
Like, people are taking the time, often, like long letters, pages and pages of letters that they're writing me. And this is just one bag of letters. To have that kind of impact on people, they're saying that their lives have been changed. They're inspired to follow their passion, all this stuff. And I just put out the work, and then that comes back, So getting letters like that, the first time I was recognized in an airport, all of those moments where because I'm in a bubble, come up with an idea for a shoot or a video, I go out there, I do it, we get to work on the next one. I'm not really thinking about the impact. I see the views, but that's an arbitrary abstract number. If this video got 10 million views, what does that mean? That means 10 million people watched it. Wow. But that doesn't really have any relationship to anything until somebody comes up in there and they've been moved to communicate and to say hello or to write a letter.
You mentioned the impact on social media, the counts and the views. And I think one thing that we as an industry struggle with is, how do we engage social media? How do we interact with social media? What has been because you have mastered it. What is your approach to that? What is your sort of guiding principle around how you use social media to extend your message?
I think that the key is to give people something they can't find anywhere else. So I think I've worked with a lot of, I'll get brand deals, right? And so then you work with their social media department. And the thing that always shocks me is they're all thinking the same way. They're all intertwined. They're the same person over and over. Whatever campaign you're working on, usually that social media team has the same. It's a data-driven approach. They look at the algorithms and the analytics, and they say this is the right time to post, and this is, and it's all wrong because there's no emotional connection. They're saying we need these keywords in there, and we need this phrase, and this, that, and the other. But if you look at anybody's social media feed and you look at their brand deals where they have to say ad, those posts always get far fewer views and less engagement than just if you post a photo of yourself. And the reason is because people know they're being sold something and they naturally turn off to it. So I like to think of it, Reg Flowers is a guy who was the first person to design a website for me when I had no idea, and we were just staying up all night. He was young, I was young, we were making this website for me. And he said, and it was so smart, way back in the day when websites were just happening, he said, most people use a website like it's a phone book, like it's the Yellow Pages. But think of it, what are you giving to people? What are you sharing with them so that they want something from you? Give them something. Don't just sell them something. So my advice would be find something unique and then share that with the world, but be giving back to them, beautiful imagery or and also the other thing about social media is stay on top of the trends. If your demographic is Facebook, which it probably is, you should be doing Facebook, but you should also be doing TikTok. You should be doing Instagram, right? You should be doing Twitter, because all those cross promotions help. Like you'll say, here's a beautiful photo, go to TikTok to see how we got it, for example, and you're cross promoting. But don't just assume that something like TikTok is irrelevant because these kids are dancing silly dances to music, because there's a lot on there. Yeah. So I would say, give people something unique, share with them rather than sell them, and stay on top of the trends. I mean, I could have a 10-hour conversation about this, but that's kind of like a 30-second summary.
Well, and I would love to have a 10-hour conversation with you, because I think, your results on social media are not negligible. And I'm being, I'm understating it. Like, you've really mastered it, I think. And I think you hit on it when you're saying give the audience something, make them feel something that they can't feel anywhere else. And I think
I think the way to do it, if you were an individual spa, is to say, first of all, why us? Why would somebody come here as opposed to the 1,000 other spa opportunities that they have? It's a lot of money, it's investment time. They probably do it less than once a year, is my assumption. And so why us? So first of all, identifying what makes you unique, and then really focusing your social media content on that element that makes you unique. And also, it doesn't hurt to have engagement with the audience too. To say, we're running this thing where we want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments, your suggestions, and we're going to give away one free spa trip to a random follower every month. And the more you comment, the more opportunities you have, or whatever. Like, you can get people engaged and commenting. And then there's so many ways you can do it, because in the spa, you can have the guests there talking about their experience. I think that the way I started, YouTube, by the way, is another great opportunity to get your message out there. The way all this really took off for me, I already had a one book, Dancers Among Us, which had been a bestseller. But I hadn't really taken off in the social media world despite that. Like I said, the photos were out there, but a lot of people didn't know who took them. They just kind of got grabbed and made the circulation. I wasn't watermarking them or anything. And then I thought I was going to do some YouTube videos. And as soon as the first video I did went viral, everything changed, because suddenly people wanted to see more. And what I did there, and the most important thing I did, I started posting regularly. And that is essential. That is an essential key. If you get people, if you're lucky enough to get some attention, you got to take advantage of that. You don't want to let them off the hook. Remember, you're only as good as your worst content. So don't put junk out there just because you want to fill the void, but then don't have a void. The only option is to post regularly and creatively. Those, if you're not going to do both those things, you're not going to succeed in social media, so don't even bother trying. Regularly and creatively.
I want to ask you this question, and thank you for that on the social media. I think we can find other venues for us to talk about social media. Let me ask you this question. When I look at your work, I feel like it's highly disruptive in a really positive way, meaning that you have changed how I view how photography should be, where it exists, who should be in the picture. Like, talk about disruption in your work and the success that that disruption has brought you as a photographer.
Well, pushing the limits. The interesting thing is, I think most of what I do is I push the limits within the mundane. I'm not hanging off of a helicopter, fearlessly taking a photo over Grand Canyon. What I'm doing is I'm taking everyday situations and then I'm inserting myself and the dancer into those situations in ways that people don't anticipate, they're not looking for. I incorporate a lot of strangers in the shots. And my main feeling is look, if I'm not hurting anybody, if I want a shot, I'm going to go get it. And if I'm not allowed to do that shot, that doesn't stop me from getting it, as long as I'm not hurting anybody. No trespassing is not a thing to me. If I'm willing to take the consequences, right? I mean, you got to be willing to take the consequences. But no trespassing is absurdity, really. I mean, it's like I'm not stealing anything, right? If I want to take a photo there, I'm going to do it. I'm going to practice it here. We're going to run and we're going to do that shot, and then we're going to see what happens. And it's because I want a beautiful photo. I did a book. The one book we haven't talked about is I spent 2 years shooting a book called Dancers After Dark, which is the body of work I'm most proud of. It's nudes of dancers in public throughout North America and Europe. Totally subtle, nothing is exposed, but it was a fearless project. We went in front of, just in Times Square, at the Louvre, all over. And we would have to get these photos, which were completely illegal. But what I was trying to do a body of work that would celebrate the figures of the dancers. They're almost like living statues. And I was really saying something about the passion that they bring to their careers. But to do it was absurd because nobody's ever done that, like a series of nudes in a book that I put out there. So I think that the overall approach to it is ask for forgiveness, not permission. If you've got something you want to do, I think people usually find the reason not to do it, which goes back to the beginning. And fear of getting in trouble or going against the norms is a great reason not to do something, but it's the exact reason why you should do that thing.
Wow. Jordan, I could talk to you for another hour or so, but we want to keep these tight and succinct for our audience.
Okay.
I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk with me today and sharing your story, your wisdom with our community. I'm so grateful and humbled. I'm so proud of the success that you've had in your career, because I feel like you're doing something important, and I feel like I think you're raising consciousness for people, and I really appreciate that and thank you for that. I know that's a gift that you give to people, so thank you for that. To everyone watching, thank you for joining us as well. I hope you found Jordan as enlightening as I did. He's an amazing human being, as well as a great photographer. And keep your eye on the iSpa social media channels and on experienceiSpa.com for details about our upcoming installments of the Heart of the Matter series and all our virtual offerings and reopening resources that are found there. Stay well, be blessed, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.